This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
This is a little different. Welcome to The Clash. Usually Jeff does that. And it's a great show where we take a Christian worldview and let it crash in to the culture around us. And after that happens, usually there are great things that happen on The Clash. And one of them is today, because you're going to get to hear some great stuff about what's happening in my partner's life. And you're going to have a chance to do something about that later on. We'll tell you about that. But I'm Chris Whaley, but the most important person sits in the other chair, and that is Jeff Dixon. Jeff, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, you feeling good about today?
I don't know. It's kind of weird because can you really be a guest on your own show?
Yeah, sure.
Can we?
Yeah.
Is that allowed?
Absolutely.
Is that in a book somewhere I don't know about?
There's a book somewhere.
Could be. Okay.
Yeah, and they're going to love this. Now, listen, I'm going to tell you, Jeff is probably one of the most amazing people when it comes to something called Disney. Now, I'm not talking about Walt Disney and the last, Snow White. No, I'm talking about Walt Disney. Walt loved the family. Walt loved this country. And he inspired this guy a lot. And Jeff is one of the most creative people that I've ever met in my life. I wish you could get to hear the sermons that you can. You can go to our website. You can go to our app, and you can listen to those sermons, and you'll be as amazed as I am. But Jeff is also one of the most creative people, and he has written a number of books about the Magic Kingdom. And he has a new book coming out, and that's what we're going to talk about when we come back from the break.
Hey there, stop whatever you're doing right now. Get your phone out and go ahead and aim it right here at the screen at the QR code right in front of you. Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, I'm having such a great time watching The Clash, but there's been some episodes that I've missed. Well, if you take a picture of that QR code and follow it to the website, you're going to discover all the episodes of The Clash that you might have missed on a channel called The Church at 434 in Motion. 434 in Motion has that and a lot of other resources, and we would love for you to catch back up on what you've missed. Every day there's brand new programming that comes out, and we want you to be a part of it. Now, hey, relax, it doesn't cost you a dime. It costs you a little bit of time, but it's well worth it because it's time well spent. Actually, it's almost like you're making money at it. So use the QR code, come find us, see the episodes of The Clash that you missed, and let's get back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to The Clash, and we're talking with Jeff Dixon today about a new book that's coming out right now, right?
It is.
And so, Jeff, I got to ask you, even before we tell you what the title is, you've written a number of books on the Magic Kingdom. I'll never forget reading the very first book that you wrote about this, and I just couldn't wait every day to get into it and finish it. And I've read your books, and I can't wait to read this one. But how did you get so hooked up on Disney?
I'm from Orlando, and so I grew up here in Central Florida, and lived other places, but certainly have come back. And I got a chance to go in the Magic Kingdom here at Walt Disney World before it ever opened to the public. My dad worked for the city of Orlando. We got to go to a premiere. I'd seen Walt on TV, watched the shows, always dreamed, one day I'd love to get to Disneyland. Well, that's California, man. That's a long way away from Florida. And walked into Walt Disney World, had seen the hype on it, had been to the preview center, but when I walked in that very first night when they lit it up, I thought, my gosh, this is incredible. And from that time on, 1971, I'm 10 years old, I was hooked.
You were hooked. Yeah.
And so, as time went by, every trip to Disney was great. I worked at Disney when I got the opportunity to be old enough to work.
Yeah. What did you do at Disney?
I was a character at Disney. And so I got to spend time being a character and bringing a character to life, which is interesting. And in those days, it was just the Magic Kingdom. But, doing ministry, they used to have events out there. I would take youth groups out there. They continued to build theme parks and then raise my family in the theme parks. I mean, my kids, we always had annual passes. And so even to this day, annual pass holder out there a lot. And so, it's been a very just much part of my life that's been ingrained. And, the older I got, the more I studied and the more I began to appreciate what Walt did, why Disney is different, the good and the bad, And so that really, when it came time to try to do something different, and I just, the challenge for me was to write a book. That was my goal. I want to write a book. I didn't want to write about church ministry. I wanted to write a book, a novel. Everyone wants to be the great American novelist, right? And so I thought, well, what do I know about? What isn't in my sweet spot? And I landed on this idea for a Disney novel for two reasons. One, because it allowed me to do the ultimate Disney fan thing, which was create a story, that of your own about Disney. And then the second thing was a little bit more practical. I wanted people to read the book, and Disney fans are fans. And so, if it has to do with Disney and it's a good product, they'll embrace it. And so they did. And so that was how the first novel, Key to the Kingdom, came out back in 2010. Wow. Which was a long time ago.
16 years ago.
Yeah. And so didn't know it'd be anything more than that, but it's been a lot more than that. There's been a lot more books that came in the aftermath of that. But that's how it got started.
Yeah. And the next book came along because people were ready for it.
Yeah.
I mean, they loved your stuff.
My original publisher, Deep River Publishing, which is no longer in business. It could be. I wonder if that's my fault. Anyway, no. Deep River is no longer in business. The founder, Bill and Nancy Carmichael, retired a year or so ago, and so. But the book came out, and people were saying, "Well, is there a sequel? Is there more coming?" And of course, and Deep River called and said, "Is there a sequel?" And I said, "Yes, of course there is." And, and Bill knows this now. If Bill watches this, and he might. I didn't have an idea in my head. I mean, there was no sequel coming when I wrote the first book. I was just glad to be done. And so I went back and I kind of reread the first book. I'm like, okay, what could I do? Where could the storyline go? And that was a great moment, because at that moment for me, I approached the story differently, and I approached it with the characters. I thought, okay, can I carry these characters into more adventures? Which ultimately I have done, and the books that have come along after that. And before I knew it, it wasn't just Jeff Dixon writing a book. It was this whole moniker of Dixon on Disney. And then the world just kind of opened up. There were podcasts, and there were interviews, and it was traveling, and there were more books and appearances at bookstores. And it really just snowballed. It became a lot of fun as time went by. And so it's been very much a part of my journey now for 16 years or so.
Okay. All right. Get on the edge of your seats. Are you there? Okay. The title of the new book is Return to the Magic Kingdom. Yes. Now then, Jeff, it begins exactly where the previous Saving the Magic Kingdom ends. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay. So tell us why you started the new novel right where the other one ended.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, my original publisher is no longer publishing. And so one of the great gifts that the Carmichaels did for me is they gave me the rights to my original novels back, so that I could open up my own publishing brand, Dixon on Disney Publishing. And so I retained the rights to the first book. And so they've been updated, re-released as time has gone by. Saving the Magic Kingdom was under contract at the time that Deep River was shutting things down And so that just kind of translated to a new contract with Morgan and James Publishing. And they published your book. A couple of your books, haven't they? Yeah, okay. And they have a branch called Magic Press, which does Disney books. They said it was a good fit. I agreed. Really enjoyed working with them. And Saving the Magic Kingdom came out, and it was a book that was in process, but it ended up being a really big story. And in the early conversations with Morgan and James, they said the book is too long. We see it being a couple of books. Let's shorten it up, kind of reapproach the book. And so I did. I released Saving the Magic Kingdom, and I released the book, and people loved the book. They hated the ending. Immediately, I was getting these emails. We hate the ending of this book. We hate the ending of this book. Is this really where you're ending the book? Well, obviously it is. I mean, all the book there was. If you're reading them, we're out of pages here. So there's like so many things that you left just wide open. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And so immediately there was already another book, kind of developing and more things in the queue. But life kind of threw me a curve, and most people don't know this, and it's not really, fodder for this episode. You're aware of this, and people are aware of this. But right as that book was coming out and all the promotion piece was starting, God allows things to happen in your life. I had a stroke, and so there wasn't a lot of early promotion of the book or some of the stuff I would have done right after the book came out. I just wasn't doing. I just couldn't do. And then didn't know if I could ever write another book. And so this book kind of got put on hold. I mean, the ideas were there, but it just kept getting pushed back, until finally, Return to the Magic Kingdom comes back. And so we've used as a tagline, the end is the beginning. We are starting this book and beginning this book right where the other book ends. As a matter of fact, if you've already got the book or you're picking the book up or you're thinking about it, you will open that book up, and actually the first chapter of the new book is the last chapter of Saving the Magic Kingdom. So it literally is, it starts with the end of the first book that kicks us off into this book. And again, it kind of plays with the idea that people they weren't satisfied with the ending of the other book. They had a lot of questions. They were upset because of the demise of a certain beloved character. And so how do you justify that? What are you going to do with that? How do you redeem that? Can you redeem that? Can you resurrect that? So right. This is what Return to the Magic Kingdom does.
Wow.
And so for me it was a long time coming. I snuck out a novella around Christmas time in the middle of all this just to prove I could still write to myself, and then was able to kind of get this kind of cinched up and tied up and kind of continuing on with this journey these characters are on. So yeah. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited for people to get to read it. I'm hopefully going to satisfy some people who were just really angry at me after the ending of the other book. But yeah.
Well, this book is eagerly awaited. Did it take you a long time to write?
It took me longer than I wanted it to. For part of the reason it was what I told you, and then part of the reason is, I felt as dumb as it sounds, right? You start writing novels and people buy your books and they, I never read reviews, because again, my opinion of your book or your opinion of my book, you either like it or you don't like it, and I don't really feel obligated to share that with people because that's just my opinion, right? So I never try to read what the critics or the fans say too much, but I do like to respond to fans, and so I really wanted to get this one right. And I think if there was any pressure, it was just really because I really had a desire to satisfy fans who have been with me a long time now, and give them something new to wrap their heads and hearts around and stay with me in this process. And so I felt that pressure. And I hope I did that. Because it ended up being a lot of fun. Right. So it's different than some of the other books, but also at the same time, it is new and it is different, and it expands the characters a little bit more and allows them to take off and get a new arc of some stories to come, maybe. So yeah, so eagerly anticipated. Hopefully it will live up to the hype.
Right.
We'll see.
Well, I should ask this at the end instead of right now, but in writing this one, has it flamed those creative thoughts in your head for other books or another? Has it done that?
It has. It's yeah. I mean, it's for me re-engaging in the writing process like I have has ignited some other stuff. And again, so. I'm in a pattern where with the Dixon on Disney books, every Christmas there's been a new novella that has come out now. And so, it's kind of like, as soon as Christmas comes past, the next question is there another one coming next Christmas? And where does this fit into the timeline and stuff like that?
All right.
And so the answer is yes. There's another Christmas novella coming. And so those have just been fun, short Christmas jaunts, and an hour and a half read and you're done. And so they've been fun. So that's creative. And so, but then in the midst of that, there is been a children's book that came out, Grayson Hawkes and Secret of Main Street, which I'd never written a children's book before. So I went to school on how do you write a children's book and what do you do and how do you take an illustration. But in the illustration, you don't actually show everything you're talking about in the text, because when you're writing for kids, you want them to imagine and fill in some gaps with the pictures. And so, if you look at a children's book, the images in the children's book, like a little golden book, right? They don't always line up exactly with what you're reading.
Right.
And because, again, there's a lot of space for kids to kind of fill in gaps with. And so there's an art form to that. I didn't know anything about that. I don't know if I did or not, but so the kids' book was a lot of fun. As a result, there's been another kids' book that's in process right now that people will eventually get to see, with a third one actually in process as well. So, I mean, it creates a different group of readers. And then with the kids' books, what I did is I went back and I tried to drop clues as to what they don't know about the life of the main character, Grayson Hawkes, something new in each book. That eventually I'll wrap up, I'm sure, in some novel somewhere. But it's a creative time. It's been fun.
All right.
I liked it.
Well, we're going to hear a lot more after we get back from this break.
Hey, Chris, I was just doing my laundry and look what I found.
Oh my goodness, look at that. The Clash.
The Clash t-shirt.
I love that.
You know what makes it so special?
Why?
Well, because this is the Clash TV show. This is our logo. This came out of my laundry bucket. That means that these t-shirts are available for everybody to buy. And that means that when you need to do some shopping, that special gift, think about it.
Yep.
You've been invited to a wedding.
Right.
You buy a wedding present for the bride and groom.
Wow.
Matching Clash t-shirts.
How awesome
Every
would that
home
be?
needs that. When they have a baby, what do you want to get the baby?
A onesie.
A onesie, a Clash onesie. You can get that as well.
Right.
If you're looking for that extra special gift for a loved one,
Right.
you can go to the Clash store and get a Clash journal. You can get Clash magnets. You can get Clash widgets and gadgets and keychains. All of that is available. All you have to do is visit the Clash store.
We live in a great day, Jeff.
We do. And perhaps the greatest store out there is the Clash store. So follow the QR code at the bottom of the screen. You can go to the Clash store and get stuff your very own. It'll make us happy. It'll make the show even better. And you can put on your Clash gear while you watch every single episode of the Clash.
Absolutely. Jeff, we got some dead air time. What are you doing?
Chris, I'm looking at the Church at 434 app. It's an incredible app. It's absolutely free. And you can watch us, you can watch video, you can get resources for your walk and your journey of faith, and it's absolutely free. Just go to the Church at 434 and your app store, Google Play, and just download it and join us online all the time.
Hey, welcome back to The Clash, where we're talking about Return to the Magic Kingdom, which is the latest book by author Jeff Dixon. Now, Jeff, I think we kind of sprinkled on this a little bit, and I'm using that like pixie dust.
Pixie dust? Okay.
We kind of sprinkled on this a little bit earlier, but maybe you can expand it some. In saving the Magic Kingdom, you got that strong response from readers. But is that what motivated you to write this book, or was there another reason? Was it just that?
It wasn't just that. I mean, I'll be, I mean, again, this is an episode of shameless self-promotion, isn't it? You feel it's so weird. Shameless self-promotion. Buy my books, put my kids through school. But it's funny. I really like the characters. I mean, as silly as it sounds, over the years now, right? Because I've written these guys, these folks, these guys, these gals, and I see them in my mind.
Okay.
And,
well,
and I like them.
I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
How do you create characters?
Okay. I probably, would never, never tell the people in the real world this. I mean, I take bits and pieces of each character from people I actually know, right? Characteristics that you like and stuff like that, and kind of roll them up and just create these characters. And so for me, they're just the byproduct of people that I've met along the way, and they probably have some of the characteristics of people that I actually know that are floating around out there somewhere, in my orbit, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and so I kind of like the characters. I feel like I know the characters. I know they're fictional. It's weird, but they're old friends to me now because I've been with them for about 16 years, and so when I first did, and you'll appreciate this as an author. There's a lady who owns a bookstore here in the state of Florida, runs it, and her name's Rachel, and she's a good friend, very gracious, very, very a leader, really, in the brick and mortar book industry. And she had me down very graciously to do a reading group, and they had all read the first novel, and I had not really done anything like that before. And I found out as I sat there that first night, and I kind of did my little presentation, we opened up for question and answer, and they just asked questions about the book. And they were asking questions about the character that, Grayson Hawkes particularly, that really weren't things I had written in the book. I mean, they were asking about the character, his background, his backstory, wanted to unpack more of his backstory so they could understand the character and appreciate the character more. And I found myself kind of on the ropes, a little bit, and at one point, I think I looked at a lady and I'm like, ma'am, I have no idea. I mean, it's just, I think I made a statement, kind of like, it's just a character in a book. I mean, I think it was like that William Shatner moment. It's just a TV show, right? It's just a book. And Rachel's very kind, and again, she's a fan, and she has been just very good to me through the years. And so she pulled me aside after it was over with. And she said, I know this is your first novel. She said, but you created some characters that for whatever reason connected with people and people care about. But they're your characters. So when these people are asking questions, they've invested in you. They've invested hours in the work that you've created, and they're asking you legitimate questions. And she said, you kind of blew that question off like it was a silly question. She said, but there's only one person living and breathing that can answer that question, and that's you, because you created that character. So whatever you say about that character, that is now the Bible for this character. And people care. And if you want them to care, you'll come up with good answers, and you'll treat those questions with respect.
Wow.
I mean, now, and again, I never walked away from that, right? I mean, that hit. Okay, I get it. I mean, and so from that moment on, I really approached each of these characters really differently. And I do have answers, and I realize that sometimes if you were to throw me a question, I don't have an answer. If I give you that answer, that answer now is part of the lore of the character.
Right.
And it taught me probably more in a question and answer session and a debrief than I ever knew about writing to begin with. Because I don't know how to write. I mean, some people read the book and go, you don't know how to write, but it helped me a lot. And so for me, I like engaging with the characters again. What would they do? What would they do next? And so it's been fun.
Right. I see Disney's impression on you, Walt Disney's impression on you, because of, when you look at all the great old Disney movies, when you see the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs animated, when you see, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all of those are characters that he created, right? So did that have a little bit of maybe, I don't know, a little dripped over to you a little bit when you came up with characters?
In some ways, I think it did. I mean, because I realized I own the characters, right? I mean,
Right.
Again, fans like the characters and they feel like there's ownership they bought in. But I realized that I'm the one that kind of tells their story.
Yeah.
I set the direction for them, which is why when they react so strongly one way or the other. I mean, in one of the early novels, I killed off a character, and people were irate. I mean, I actually got hate mail because I killed a character named Kate Young in one of the novels. I mean, if you haven't read the novel yet, they're out there. You can go find them. I mean, people were mad at me.
Yeah.
Because I did that. Like, how could you do that? We love Kate. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to Hawk? Why would you? And like, and again, I had that moment of like, what's wrong with you? I mean, but again, because they were vested in the character. You know,
I got to ask you. Some people have said that you are Grayson Hawkes. Is he patterned after you?
Well, years ago I'd have said probably no, but there's a little bit of his bullheadedness and his attitude toward life that definitely is patterned probably after me a little bit. There's he has some attitudes and some pretty strong opinions and a spiritual take that I think probably lines up with my personal theology pretty well. Yeah. So I had to kind of get over that hump where, okay, people said, I see you. Okay, well, okay. Yep. I can't do anything about that.
Is this another Hawk adventure?
That's a great question. I really want people to read it because one of the reasons that people are interested in the book is because they did not like the ending for Hawk in Saving the Magic Kingdom. And so because of that, this has become an adventure that part of what they're looking for is what really happened. And so we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't want to see this. That's no answer to the question, isn't it?
Yeah. No.
6 months from now, we can ask that question better.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Well, tell us why does Jeff Dixon write?
It's a side hustle. I mean, it's fun. For me, it's just a creative expression. I think there's a little bit of artist in all of us, and for me, it's when I started, I didn't know if I could do it, and then it worked, and then people read it, and people responded to it, and then there's that whole, wave of stuff that happens. I mean, Saving the Magic Kingdom, for example, won an Impact Book Award, And so, one of the Christmas novellas was nominated for a book award, and I don't know if it won or not. We'll find out this year. I got nominated for Author of the Year, and all of a sudden there was that vein of, oh, wow, this is something that way to share my faith. The other thing it did is open up an audience for me to share my faith with people that I never would have got to stand in front of, which are Disney fans. And so I've done events at Disney, for different groups. And the reason it won't be is because I'm a Disney author, but they like the fact that I'm a pastor, and they never told me I couldn't talk about my faith. And so I've used that as a vehicle as well. And so for me, it's just another expression of who I am and how God has made me, I guess.
Yep. Well, tell us, here's what I want to do. I want to end it with this. I want you to tell us why you write about Disney, and then just close us out today.
Okay. Well, I think for me, Walt Disney is a shaper of culture. He is a visionary. I think he illustrates how you can have a foot in the past and a foot in the future and not be afraid of the future. Tragically flawed guy, not perfect, but also was willing to risk everything that he had to chase dreams. And I really think there's a lot of spiritual dynamics to that. So I've always been inspired by that. And I want to be that kind of inspiration for others. And then, and I just like the stuff that Disney does. Not all the stuff, but like the company, like the direction, because Walt Disney is the greatest storyteller since Jesus. And you remember stories that Walt Disney told and put on screen. And so, so for me, that's one of the reasons that really has become the jump-off point. And so, the book is called Returns of Magic Kingdom. Thanks for this opportunity. And so I guess I'm going to steal your line. Join us next time, but until then, don't tap out and buy the book.